60 Minutes Rewind.
The U.S. airstrike against Iranian-backed militias Thursday night was the latest chapter in the poisonous relationship with Iran President Biden inherited from the Trump administration. 13 months ago, the two countries came perilously close to war. It began with an American drone strike which killed Iran's most powerful general and ended with an Iranian ballistic missile attack against U.S. troops in Iraq. It was the largest ballistic missile attack ever against Americans. Tonight, we will show you for the first time drone video of the attack and talk to the troops who were there the night the U.S. and Iran went to the brink.
Hey, buddy. If you're seeing this video, some bad things happened to Dad last night. So I need you to be strong, okay? For Mom. And just always know in your heart that I love you, okay? Bye, buddy.
A few hours after Army Major Alan Johnson recorded that message to his son, Iranian ballistic missiles began raining down on Al-Asad Air Base in Iraq, where 2,000 U.S. troops were based. As a drone recorded the attack, Americans caught in the crosshairs could do nothing but run or duck and cover.
Holy God damn!
Each missile carried a warhead weighing more than 1,000 pounds.
Stay right here, bro. Don't move.
Well, words can't even describe the amount of energy that is released by these missiles.
Johnson was taking cover in a bunker designed to protect troops against much smaller warheads, weighing only 60 pounds.
Knocked the wind out of me, followed by the most putrid-tasting ammonia tasting dust that swept through the bunker, coated your teeth.
After the blast wave and debris came the flames.
The fire was just rolling over the bunker, like 70 feet in the air.
Johnson's bunker provided no protection from that.
We're going to burn to death. We start heading down 135 meters, make it about a third of the way there. The big voice, we call it, clicks in, incoming, incoming, take cover, take cover, take cover. I've got another football field to run. I don't know when this next missile is going to hit.
Can you hear the incoming?
Like a freight train going by you.
Johnson wasn't the only one frantically searching for cover.
It's 6 people running for their lives to get to this next bunker. We get to the bunker and realize there's roughly 40 people trying to stuff themselves into this bunker that's made for about 10 folks. And I grabbed the guy in front of me. I'm just like, you got to get in the bunker, and just like shoved everybody in there.
But when you're running between bunkers, it's just a matter of what, luck?
Luck. The only thing I can actually come up with is that the hand of God protected us, because really nobody should have lived through this.
Things are happening that could take us to war if we don't make the correct move here.
Marine General Frank McKenzie, commander of U.S. forces in the Middle East, monitored the attack from his headquarters at Tampa, Florida. Ducking into this small room off his main operations center, where he could talk directly to the only 2 people above him in the chain of command.
They bring in the Secretary of Defense, and then a little bit later they brought in the President to this conversation. We're listening to the reports of the missiles flying.
You ever been on one like this?
I've never been on one like this, where real missiles being fired at our forces and where I thought the risks were so high.
The Iranian attack on Al-Asad was in retaliation for a stunning U.S. operation President Trump ordered 6 nights earlier. A drone strike which killed Iran's most powerful general, Qassem Soleimani.
The blood of many Americans is on the hands of Qassem Soleimani. He was as close to an indispensable man as you could find inside Iran. Where he went, violence and death followed.
During the American occupation of Iraq, Soleimani had orchestrated attacks which killed more than 600 U.S. troops. And according to McKenzie, he was planning to do it again.
We saw intelligence reports where Qassem Soleimani was moving various attack streams forward against our forces in Iraq, against our embassy and against other bases there.
Were they imminent?
Perhaps in hours, perhaps in days, probably not weeks.
Until then, the U.S. had shied away from going after Soleimani for fear killing such a high-ranking government official would only provoke more Iranian attacks.
I never take killing anyone as an easy decision, but I think the risk of not acting in this case outweighed the risks of acting. So yes, I was good with the decision.
On January 3rd of last year, an airport security camera recorded Soleimani's arrival in Baghdad on a commercial flight from Damascus. Mackenzie was watching from a different angle.
You have the drones overhead. Do you see him get off the airplane?
Yes, yes.
As Soleimani's entourage pulled away from the plane, Mackenzie gave the kill order to the commander controlling the drones.
And then I said, take your shot when you got it.
Missiles slammed into both vehicles simultaneously.
There's no backslapping, there's no cheering, because now I have to prepare to deal with the consequences of the action.
General Mackenzie was sure Iran would retaliate, but he didn't know how. And neither, for a while, did the Iranians.
I believe they went into a period of disorganization because they had lost the officer who really spoke up and shaped everything up and told them what they were going to do.
So it's kind of a ominous silence.
It was a very ominous silence.
And what was the first sign that Iran might really be thinking of a ballistic missile attack?
They began to move their ballistic missiles.
The attack was just hours away when Major Alan Johnson got the word Iran's most powerful weapons were aiming for Al-Asad.
My intelligence officer pulled me aside and basically said, "Sir, I've got some bad news for you." "What's up?" "We have information that Iran is fueling 27 medium-range ballistic missiles, and their intention is to level this base. And we may not survive."
This was a completely different threat.
Lieutenant Colonel Tim Garland commanded an Army battalion at Al-Asad, a sprawling airbase about 120 miles west of Baghdad, where the U.S. operated scores of helicopters, drones, and other aircraft.
Did the base have any defense against ballistic missiles?
No, sir. It was such an unprecedented threat. I don't think it was ever calculated. So the capability to prevent a ballistic missile attack, it wasn't there.
Did you have a plan for what to do?
We came up with a plan.
The only real defense against a ballistic missile attack is to get out of harm's way.
Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Stacy Coleman and the rest of Al-Asad scrambled to evacuate more than 50 aircraft and 1,000 troops before the missiles hit. But the base still had to be manned.
We still needed to be able to do our mission. So the first decision was to split our team by combat capability.
What did you think was going to happen to the people you were telling to stay?
The honest truth is, I didn't think that we were going to survive.
The best shelter was air raid bunkers built during the rule of Saddam Hussein, but there weren't enough of them.
And I just remember a very heavy sinking feeling setting in. I was like, man, we are not going to come up with a bunker plan that's going to be adequate for the number of people that we're talking about.
So Garland sent most of his soldiers out into the desert, where they watched the attack from a safe distance.
Holy!
There was a lot of people who didn't want to leave. They didn't want to be that guy that was going to relative safety.
A lot of people might have trouble understanding what you just said. Tell me why a soldier wouldn't want to go to a safe place.
They want to carry the burden. They want to share in the danger.
From his headquarters in Tampa, General Frank McKenzie had tried to time the evacuation just right.
If you go too early, you risk the problem that the enemy will see what you have done and adjust his plans.
The Iranians monitored Al-Asad by purchasing photos like these taken by commercial satellites. McKenzie waited until after Iran had downloaded its last picture for the day.
So the last time the Iranians took a look with their commercially acquired spy photos, what would they have seen?
They would have seen airplanes on the ground and people working.
So when they launched those missiles, they thought that was going to be a full flight line.
I think they expected to destroy a number of U.S. aircraft and to kill a number of U.S. service members.
The story will continue after this.
A clock stopped at 1:34 a.m. when it was knocked off the wall, recorded the moment the first missile landed.
It's like the sun rising instantaneous. That's how bright it was.
Air Force Master Sergeant John Haynes and his security team were outside their armored patrol vehicle when the first missile struck.
Across the radio, we heard incoming, incoming, incoming.
And what do you do?
I just threw the phone down and ran to my vehicle. And then once that impact happened, the back pressure blew our doors closed, and then you just see a cloud of dirt, fire.
They call it a shock wave, and you kind of feel that wave almost internally. Like it's almost as if your organs are, kind of wavering around inside.
Sergeant Kimo Keltz was outside the bunkers manning a guard post in case the missile barrage was followed by a ground assault.
We got down and we protected our vital organs, our heads, and we waited.
Did it blow you around?
And one of the closest ones that had hit directly near us had actually lifted my body about 2 inches off the ground.
Iran fired a total of 16 missiles from 3 locations. 5 missed, 11 landed at Al-Asad.
This was an attack like no other.
It was an attack certainly like nothing I've ever seen or experienced.
What have you learned so far?
Their missiles are accurate.
Did that surprise you?
We knew it, but to see it, they fired those missiles to significant range, and they hit pretty much where they wanted to hit.
From first launch to last impact was 80 minutes. Somehow, no one was killed. When the sun came up, the survivors surveyed the damage.
Holy
Shells of a building, skeletal frames left with nothing else. Craters about a room size deep into the ground. Concrete barriers blown across a field or a street.
It looked like a scene from a movie where everything is destroyed around you, but yet no one was killed.
I still have no idea or understanding other than, God being on our side, that no one was seriously injured and there were no fatalities.
The news traveled fast up the chain of command, and President Trump tweeted, "All is well." That turned out to be premature.
There are people throwing up. Everybody had headaches.
I had a concussion for 2 weeks.
What did it feel like?
Someone hitting me over the head with a hammer over and over and over.
Finally, hours later, we realized we have a mass casualty event here of traumatic brain injury.
Military doctors diagnosed more than 100 cases of traumatic brain injury. Major Alan Johnson and 28 other soldiers received Purple Hearts.
Do you have any lingering effects today?
Headaches every day, horrible tinnitus or ringing in the ears, PTSD. I'll be willing to admit that. I still have nightmares.
But the nightmare of war with Iran had been averted.
Had Americans been killed, it would have been very different.
Have you ever done an estimate on if you hadn't evacuated, the damage that would have been done?
So I think we might have lost 20 or 30 airplanes, and we might have lost 100 to 150 U.S. personnel.
You had a plan to retaliate if they killed Americans.
David, we had a plan to retaliate if Americans had died.
Iran was on alert for a possible U.S. strike and hours later mistakenly shot down a Ukrainian airliner thinking it was an American bomber. 176 entirely innocent people died.